The soup had already gone cold. I stood in the kitchen with my hand resting on the edge of the table, staring at two bowls that had stopped giving off steam almost an hour ago. The chicken I had roasted that afternoon looked perfect. The candles had burned halfway down. Victoria still wasn't home. My phone lit up again. No new message from her. Only another reminder that the company awards ceremony had started 30 minutes earlier. I opened our chat anyway. My last 4 messages sat there without replies. Drive safely. Dinner will be ready when you get home. Congratulations again. I'm proud of you. Call me if you're running late. Nothing. I locked the screen and forced a smile that no one would ever see. This wasn't the first cold dinner. I kept telling myself every marriage had hard seasons. People got busy. Dreams demanded sacrifice. Love wasn't supposed to be exciting every day. That was what I believed. Or maybe that was what I needed to believe. The apartment was spotless because I had cleaned it before lunch. Her favorite flowers sat in a glass vase near the window. The framed wedding photos stood beside them. A thin layer of dust covered the top of the frame. I wiped it away with my thumb. We used to laugh so much. The picture didn't answer. I grabbed my jacket. If Victoria couldn't come home, I could at least surprise her at the ceremony. Maybe seeing me there would make her smile. Maybe we'd celebrate together afterward. Maybe tonight could still be saved. The ballroom glowed with bright lights and expensive decorations. People in elegant clothes filled every table. Laughter floated through the room. I slipped inside quietly and stayed near the back. Victoria stood on the stage in a dark blue dress. She looked incredible, confident, strong, beautiful, the woman I had fallen in love with. An announcer handed her the award. The applause echoed across the room. Victoria smiled into the microphone. This achievement wasn't possible without an amazing team. She thanked her assistant, her managers, the board members, several clients, even Ryan. My business partner has challenged me to become better every single day. Ryan stood and accepted the applause with an easy grin. People laughed when he joked about late-night meetings. Victoria laughed too. My smile faded. I waited. Surely she would mention me. The husband who left his own career behind so she could chase hers. The husband who packed her lunches, handled the bills, missed opportunities because someone had to keep life together. She lowered the microphone. Thank you, everyone. The speech ended. Nothing. Not one word. Around me, people clapped. Inside me, something quietly cracked. I left before anyone noticed. The drive home felt longer than usual. Streetlights blurred through the windshield. I kept hearing her voice. My amazing team. Maybe I had stopped being part of it. Maybe I hadn't belonged for a long time. The apartment stayed dark until almost 11. The lock clicked. Victoria stepped inside, heels tapping softly against the floor. Ryan followed her carrying a gift basket from the event. Oh. She stopped after seeing the table. You cooked. I always cook. Ryan cleared his throat. I'll leave this here. He placed the basket on the counter. Congratulations again. Victoria gave him a tired smile. The apartment echoed every time I took another step. One bedroom, one small kitchen, one worn-out couch sitting near a window that faced an old brick building. Nothing about the place felt special. Yet after leaving the house I once called home, these empty walls somehow felt more honest. My suitcase stood beside the bed exactly where I had dropped it 2 days earlier. I kept telling myself I would unpack tomorrow. Tomorrow became another tomorrow. My phone buzzed. Grace. I almost ignored the call. Almost. You've been hiding long enough. I'm not hiding. A quiet laugh came through the speaker. Ethan, you sound like a ghost. I'm just tired. No. You're waiting. My hand rested on the suitcase handle. Waiting for what? For her to change her mind. The truth hit harder because it came from someone who knew me too well. Grace didn't soften her voice. She chose to end the marriage. I know. So stop acting like your life ended with it. I leaned against the wall. It doesn't feel that simple. It never is. A short pause. Come have lunch with me. I'm not hungry. I wasn't asking. The call ended before I could invent another excuse. An hour later, I sat across from my sister at a small cafe. She studied my face while stirring her coffee. You haven't shaved. I noticed. You've lost weight. I noticed that too. And you're still wearing your wedding ring. My fingers froze. I hadn't even realized it was still there. Grace reached across the table. You don't have to throw it away. I don't know if I can. You don't have to wear it either. The ring suddenly felt heavier than gold should. I slowly slipped it off. It left a pale mark around my finger. Grace smiled. Not because I looked happy, but because I had finally taken one step forward. She pushed a small envelope toward me. Open it. Inside was a business card. Daniel Foster, my old mentor. He still remembers you? He called me. I blinked. He asked how you were doing. I haven't spoken to him in years. He wondered why. The answer was easy. I had turned down every career opportunity after marrying Victoria. Someone needed to stay flexible. Someone had to keep life moving while she chased promotions. That someone had always been me. Grace folded her arms. Call him. What if he only feels sorry for me? Then prove he doesn't need to. I slipped the card into my pocket. That afternoon, I stood outside Daniel's office. The glass door reflected a version of me I barely recognized. Older, tired, unsure. Before I could lose my nerve, I stepped inside. Daniel stood when he saw me. Ethan. His smile stayed exactly the same as I remembered. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten me. I almost forgot myself. He nodded slowly. I heard about the divorce. News traveled faster than I expected. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to understand it. He motioned toward the chair. So don't understand it today. His office felt calm. No rushing. No endless phone calls. No pressure. He placed a folder in front of me. I saved something. I opened it. My old design proposals. Projects I had created years earlier. Projects I never finished. I kept these because I knew they were good. I turned them down. You chose family. I chose someone else's dream. Daniel didn't correct me. Sometimes kindness didn't need words. He leaned forward. I have a new project. I looked up. It needs someone who solves problems instead of chasing attention. I'm rusty. You've always underestimated yourself. What if I'm not good enough anymore? His smile returned. Then learn again. The answer was so simple that I almost laughed. He wasn't offering pity. He was offering work. Real work. I'll think about it. No. He slid a pen across the desk. You'll decide. The pen rested between us. After a long breath, I picked it up. I'll do it. Daniel stood. Welcome back. The handshake felt different from every congratulations I had heard during my marriage. This one wasn't about sacrificing myself. It was about becoming myself again. That evening I returned to my apartment. The suitcase still waited beside the bed. This time I opened it. One shirt after another found its place inside the closet. The notebook went onto the shelf. My watch rested beside it. Finally, I picked up the small box holding my wedding ring. I stared at it for several seconds. Memories arrived without asking permission. Our wedding, our first apartment, late-night pizza, dreams whispered under blankets before sunrise. They were real. That made losing them even harder. I placed the ring inside the drawer beside my bed. Then I closed it, not because I hated the past, because I couldn't keep living inside it. Across the city, my phone lit up with a social media notification. Someone had posted photos from Victoria's office celebration. She stood beside Ryan, both of them smiling. The comments poured in. Power team. Future CEO. Perfect partnership. I closed the app before reading another word. Meanwhile, another evening settled over the apartment we used to share. I imagined Victoria unlocking the front door. No dinner waiting. No music playing softly in the kitchen. No clean shirts folded on the bed. No reminder to eat before another late meeting. Just quiet. The kind of quiet people don't notice until it belongs to them. The next morning, Daniel introduced me to the project team. This is Ethan Carter. Several people smiled. One woman handed me a stack of plans. We've heard great things. I almost turned around to see who she meant. Then I realized she was talking about me. Hours passed faster than they had in months. There were problems to solve. Ideas to sketch. Meetings where people actually wanted my opinion. Every task repaired a small piece of confidence I thought had disappeared forever. When I finally left the office, my phone rang again. Grace, how was your first day? I forgot to check the time. That's the brother I remember. I smiled without forcing it. Thank you. You earned it yourself. 3 weeks later, our company gathered in the conference hall. Daniel stepped onto the stage. We're proud to announce the leader of our newest national development project. A large screen lit up behind him. My name appeared across it. Project Director, Ethan Carter. Applause spread through the room. At that exact moment, miles away, Victoria attended another corporate networking event. The same announcement appeared on a business news screen. People around her began talking. I didn't know Ethan Carter was leading that project. That's huge. He turned it down years ago, didn't he? Victoria stopped walking. The smile she had been wearing slowly disappeared. Her eyes stayed fixed on my name. For the first time since our marriage ended, uncertainty replaced certainty. The applause ended, but its echo stayed with me. Every meeting after my promotion felt different. People waited for my opinion instead of speaking over me. The strange part wasn't the new title. It was realizing I had always been capable of this. I had simply spent years making myself smaller so someone else could shine brighter. Daniel noticed the change before I did. He leaned against the doorway after another successful presentation. You finally stopped apologizing before sharing your ideas. I blinked. I used to do that. You apologize for existing. His words stayed with me long after he walked away. That evening, our team met an outside architect to discuss the next phase of the project. A woman stood beside the building model, carefully adjusting small pieces with steady hands. Daniel smiled. Ethan, this is Claire Morgan. She turned toward me with a warm expression. It's nice to finally meet the famous project director. I laughed. I'm still getting used to hearing that. Good. She slid a blueprint across the table. Confidence is useful. Ego isn't. The answer caught me off guard. Not because it was rude, because it sounded honest. During the meeting, she listened more than she talked. When someone interrupted her, she simply waited until the room settled before finishing her point. She never raised her voice. She never tried to impress anyone. Yet everyone paid attention. After the meeting, she gathered her papers. You looked distracted halfway through. You stared at the window for almost a minute. A small smile appeared. That's usually where people keep their difficult thoughts. I rubbed the back of my neck. I'm still learning how not to carry my past everywhere. Claire nodded. I wasn't asking you to forget it. She adjusted the strap on her bag. Just don't build your future inside it. Then she walked away. Simple words. No dramatic speech. Still, they stayed in my mind all evening. Back at my apartment, I opened the storage box that had followed me from the old house. Most of it held ordinary things. Books, winter clothes, old notebooks. At the bottom rested our wedding photo. I lifted the frame carefully. Victoria and I stood under bright summer sunlight. She had laughed because the wind kept moving her hair. I remembered that day perfectly, not because everything was perfect, because we believed it could stay that way forever. Months ago, that picture would have filled me with anger. Now it didn't. I smiled sadly. Thank you for the good years. The frame went back into the box. Not hidden, not displayed, just finished. I closed the lid. That night, I slept without dreaming about our marriage. Across the city, Victoria unlocked the apartment door. The light stayed off until she reached the kitchen. No clean dishes waited in the drying rack. No grocery list rested on the refrigerator. She opened the fridge. Half a bottle of water. Some yogurt. Nothing else. The quiet had become familiar. She picked up her phone. Ryan had sent another message. Meeting moved to 7 tomorrow. Nothing more. No question about whether she had eaten. No reminder to get some rest. No concern. Only work. She stared at the screen before placing the phone on the counter. A few minutes later, she opened our old conversation. Months of messages appeared. Most of them came from me. Good luck today. I left dinner in the oven. Drive carefully. Don't skip lunch again. I'm proud of you. She kept scrolling. The messages became older. Then older still. One stopped her hand. Doctor says Mom is doing better. I wish you could have been there today. Unread. Another. I know you're busy. Just wanted to hear your voice. Unread. Another. Happy anniversary. I made reservations for tonight. Unread. Her thumb trembled slightly. Dozens of blue message bubbles filled the screen. So many moments where I had reached toward her. So many moments she had never reached back. The phone slowly lowered into her lap. No tears came. Not yet. Only the heavy weight of realizing how many chances had quietly disappeared. The following morning brought another long meeting. Claire placed several sketches across the conference table. What do you think? I studied them carefully. The design is beautiful. But she folded her arms with a playful smile. I know there's a but. The entrance feels distant. She tilted her head. Explain. It impresses people. I traced a finger across the drawing. It doesn't welcome them. Claire became quiet. Then she nodded. I was hoping you'd notice that. Daniel laughed from the other side of the room. You two are going to make this project expensive. Claire grinned. We're making it memorable. The room relaxed. Without thinking, I smiled. A real smile. Not the polite one I had practiced during my marriage. Not the empty one I wore to convince people I was fine. This one reached me before I even noticed it. Claire caught it. There it is. What? That smile. I frowned. What's special about it? It looks like you weren't forcing it. The words surprised me. Because she was right. Work became easier after that. Not because life suddenly turned perfect. Because I had stopped measuring every good day against a painful memory. Later that week, business news spread through the industry. Victoria's company had lost an important client. Office rumors blamed poor communication between departments. Others whispered about growing tension between Victoria and Ryan. Daniel closed the article after reading it. Tough situation. I nodded once. Nothing else. Months earlier, I would have worried about her. Now I simply hoped everyone involved found a way through it. That change felt strange. Not cold. Just honest. A few days later, I left the office carrying rolled blueprints under one arm. The parking lot shimmered under the afternoon sun. Someone stood near the entrance. Dark coat. Familiar posture. Victoria. She wasn't dressed for a business meeting. No expensive heels. No polished smile. Just tired eyes and nervous hands. She stepped closer. I wasn't sure you'd come out this way. What do you need? Her fingers tightened around the strap of her purse. Several sentences seemed ready to escape. None of them did. I've been reading our old messages. I stayed quiet. I didn't answer so many. The wind moved a loose strand of her hair across her face. She didn't brush it away. I thought there would always be another chance. A long breath escaped her. I didn't see what I was losing. Those words had once been everything I wanted. I imagined hearing them months ago, maybe even weeks after the divorce. Back then I would have believed they could fix us. Now they simply sounded late. My grip tightened around the blueprints. Claire's voice echoed inside my mind. Don't build your future inside your past. Victoria waited. Hope and fear shared the same expression. I walked past her. After 3 more steps, I slowed. I hadn't decided whether I was stopping or simply saying goodbye forever. Wait. Victoria's voice followed me across the parking lot. My steps slowed, but I didn't turn around right away. The blueprints under my arm suddenly felt heavier than paper. When I finally faced her, she hadn't moved any closer. The space between us wasn't very wide. It still felt impossible to cross. I know I'm late. A tired smile touched her face before disappearing again. I've been late for a long time. The wind carried a few dry leaves across the pavement. Cars passed behind us. Life kept moving, even while our conversation struggled to begin. What do you want from me? Her eyes lowered. I don't even know anymore. That answer surprised me. Months ago, she always seemed certain. Certain about work. Certain about success. Certain about ending our marriage. Now uncertainty had replaced confidence. I've spent weeks thinking. She folded her arms as if trying to keep herself together. I kept asking why everything feels empty. I waited. The answer was waiting in my phone. My messages. A slow nod. I ignored the person who loved me because I believed love would always be there. I took a careful breath. It wasn't Ryan. Confusion crossed her face. What? You didn't lose me because of Ryan. She stayed quiet. You lost me because every time life forced you to choose between us, you stopped choosing us. The words landed without anger. That made them harder to escape. She closed her eyes for a brief moment. I know. I hope you really do. Another long pause settled between us. I won't ask you to come back. Her voice almost disappeared. I don't deserve that. I nodded once. Then I walked away. This time she didn't stop me. The next few weeks became the busiest of my career. Contracts, meetings, construction plans, deadlines. Daniel entered my office carrying another folder. Ready? What now? He placed the papers on my desk. Our final agreement. The biggest project of my career. Years earlier, I had rejected something almost identical because Victoria needed me at home. Today, no one was asking me to sacrifice myself. I read every page carefully. Then I signed my name. Daniel smiled. Congratulations. I stared at the ink drying across the paper. It wasn't just a business agreement. It was proof that my life had finally started moving again. Later that afternoon, Grace called. You've been working too much. I learned from the best. I'm serious. So am I. She laughed. Then her voice softened. The Children's Hospital needs volunteers this weekend. I'm not exactly good with hospitals. You don't have to be. What do I have to do? Just remind people they're not alone. Saturday morning found me standing in a bright hallway filled with colorful drawings made by children. A nurse handed me a volunteer form. I signed it without thinking twice. An elderly man sat alone near one of the windows. His wife slept quietly inside the room beside him. He noticed my visitor badge. First day. It shows. He smiled. It always does. We talked for nearly an hour. Not about illness. Not about pain. Just ordinary things. Gardens. Baseball. Favorite meals. Before leaving, he squeezed my shoulder. Life keeps asking us to continue. His words stayed with me all day. Outside the hospital, rain began falling. The sidewalks turned dark. Water washed dust from parked cars. I stood under the entrance roof for a moment, watching everything become clean again. Some memories never disappeared. They simply stopped hurting every time they returned. Across town, another storm was building. Victoria stood inside a conference room. Ryan paced beside the screen, displaying falling numbers. We need someone to take responsibility. She frowned. We made these decisions together. He avoided her eyes. The board doesn't see it that way. You encouraged every expansion. You approved them. The room became painfully quiet. Victoria studied him carefully. Pieces that never fit together suddenly made sense. Late-night meetings. Small comments about how she needed stronger leadership. The subtle suggestions that family only slowed ambitious people down. You wanted me to depend on you. Ryan didn't answer. You kept pushing me away from everyone else. His shoulders stiffened. I pushed your career. You pushed my pride. She gathered her files. You didn't destroy my marriage. Her voice turned heavy. But you never cared if it survived. She walked out before he could stop her. A week later, our company sponsored a charity gala for the Children's Hospital. Business leaders filled the ballroom. Many of the same faces from Victoria's awards ceremony months earlier surrounded the room. The difference became obvious the moment I stepped inside. Ethan, a former client, shook my hand. We've been hoping to work with you. Another executive joined us. Congratulations on the Riverside project. I heard it's already ahead of schedule. Someone handed me another business card. Then another. People who barely noticed me before now waited patiently for a conversation. None of it felt like revenge. It simply felt earned. Across the room, I noticed Victoria standing alone. Several former colleagues greeted her politely before moving toward other conversations. Respect had become something she could no longer demand. It had to be rebuilt. The event ended later than expected. Rain still covered the streets outside. Victoria waited near the front steps. Neither of us opened an umbrella. The rain wasn't heavy enough to matter. She reached into her purse. A small velvet box rested in her hands. I found this while cleaning. She opened it. My wedding ring. The same ring I had left beside the divorce papers. I kept it. She held it toward me. I think it belongs to you. I stared at the gold band. It represented promises we couldn't keep. Slowly, I accepted it. Not because I wanted the marriage back. Because it had once been part of my life. I slipped the ring into my coat pocket. Not onto my finger, just into my pocket. Victoria noticed. A faint, painful smile crossed her face. I understand. The rain grew steadier. Water rolled down the steps, carrying tiny leaves into the street. I've spent months wishing I could change everything. I know, but wishing doesn't change what happened. No. She took one careful step closer. If I had chosen you first, her voice trembled before the final words escaped. Would we still be us? The question hung between us. I searched for an answer. My heart remembered the man who would have answered yes without hesitation. The man standing there now wasn't him anymore. My lips parted. Nothing came out. I simply couldn't answer. The rain stopped before I found my answer. Victoria waited, but she never repeated the question. If I had chosen you first, would we still be us? The words stayed between us. I reached into my coat pocket and touched the wedding ring. Cold, smooth, familiar. I honestly don't know. She lowered her head. I was hoping you'd say yes. I know. A sad smile crossed my face. But we don't get to live inside the version of life that never happened. The traffic behind us slowly grew louder. People hurried past with umbrellas. No one noticed that two lives were quietly reaching their final page. I loved you. The words came naturally. I don't regret loving you. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she didn't hide them. I regret making you believe your love wasn't enough. It was enough. I took a slow breath. It just wasn't what you chose. She closed her eyes. No excuses. No arguments. Only acceptance. I spent so much time chasing success. Her voice barely rose above the sound of passing cars. I thought every promotion meant I was winning. She looked around as if seeing the city differently. Then I came home every night to an empty apartment. A small laugh escaped. It took losing you to understand how quiet success can be. I nodded. I hope one day your home feels full again. She stared at me with surprise. You're wishing me happiness? Holding on to hate won't rebuild my life. Another tear slipped down her cheek. I don't deserve your kindness. This isn't about what you deserve. I gently placed the velvet ring box back into her hands. Her fingers curled around it. You keep it. Confusion spread across her face. I thought, the ring belongs to our past. I smiled softly. It doesn't belong to my future. She understood. Without another word, she slipped the box into her purse. Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Victoria. This time neither of us looked back. The next few months changed more than I expected. Ryan quietly resigned after several failed projects and growing pressure from the board. His name slowly disappeared from company conversations. No dramatic scandal. No public humiliation. Just the slow collapse of someone who built every relationship around ambition instead of trust. Victoria stayed. She accepted a smaller leadership role instead of chasing another promotion. Former coworkers began noticing something different. She listened more, interrupted less, thanked people whose work often went unnoticed. Respect returned little by little, not because she demanded it, because she finally earned it. One afternoon, Daniel knocked on my office door. You've got a visitor. Claire stood in the hallway holding 2 cups of coffee. I guessed you'd forget lunch again. I accepted 1 cup with a grin. You know me too well. I'm learning. We walked outside together. Construction workers filled the project site with noise and movement. Steel beams reached toward the sky. Months earlier this had been nothing but empty ground. Now it looked alive. Claire watched the workers for a moment. You've changed. I hope that's a good thing. It is. She smiled into her coffee. You don't spend every conversation looking over your shoulder anymore. I laughed quietly. I guess I stopped waiting for my past to catch up. You finally caught up with yourself instead. There was never pressure between us. She never asked me to compare her with Victoria. She never tried to become someone else. Some afternoons we talked for hours. Other times we simply watched the sunset without feeling the need to fill every quiet moment. That peace meant more than dramatic romance ever could. A week later, I signed the papers for my new house. The realtor handed me a small silver key. Congratulations. I rolled the key across my palm. Years ago, I believed home meant sharing an address with someone I loved. Now I understood something different. Home also meant respecting the person I became every time I unlocked the front door. Grace insisted on helping me move. She placed another box inside the living room. You've collected more books than furniture. I have my priorities. She laughed. I noticed. While unpacking, I found the old storage box from my apartment. Inside rested our wedding photo. I picked it up one last time. The picture still showed two people who believed forever would be easy. I smiled gently. You gave me beautiful memories. Another pause. You also taught me what love cannot survive. I removed the photograph from the frame. The frame went into one pile, the picture into another. Not out of anger, out of acceptance. Some memories deserve gratitude. They didn't deserve control over the rest of my life. A few days later, Claire invited me to a hill overlooking the city. The sun slowly disappeared behind distant buildings. Orange light painted the sky. The breeze carried the smell of fresh grass. It's beautiful. She nodded. It reminds me that endings and beginnings often share the same horizon. We stood quietly. No awkwardness. No expectations. Just two people watching another day come to its natural close. I used to think healing meant forgetting. Claire turned toward me. And now, I think healing means remembering without wishing to go back. She smiled. I like that. I finally do too. As darkness settled across the city, I realized something I had never expected. The man who once waited beside cold dinners. The man who begged for attention through unread messages. The man who believed love meant sacrificing himself. He no longer existed. Not because pain had erased him, because pain had changed him. Several weeks passed before my phone vibrated late one evening. Victoria. Her name no longer made my heart race. I opened the message. I wanted you to know I finally donated the award from that night to the Children's Hospital. Another line appeared beneath it. Thank you for loving me when I didn't know how to love you back. I truly hope your future is everything I failed to give you. I read the message twice. No anger. No sadness. Only quiet understanding. She had accepted what neither of us could change. I locked the phone and slipped it into my pocket. This time, I didn't delete the message. I simply didn't need to answer. The front door of my new house stood open behind me. The silver key rested comfortably in my hand. The evening sky stretched across the horizon, peaceful and endless. A slow smile found its way across my face. My future finally belonged to me,